Hey, everybody, and welcome to Hard Rock History, Episode 3. And today we have a mainstay, a New York guy that if you've been to a club, you've seen this face. This guy has some incredible history. I know he's got some incredible stories. He is the president of Skateboard Marketing, an independent metal radio promotion and marketing company. Please welcome my brother, Munsey Ricci. Muns, my man, how are you, brother?
Paul, what's going on, dude?
Good, man. It's a real honor to have you, man.
Thanks for having me, dude.
So now I always go with timeline. I start with. So how old are you now, Months?
Me, I'm 59.
Okay, so we're the same age. So you're born in '67.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, and what's your month? I'm January.
In June.
Okay, so I'm older than you. Yeah, you're 58 right now.
Yeah.
Mind your elders. So now I always go by what was in your house music wise? Were you a musical family listening to the radio, or did someone turn you on? What got you into hard rock and heavy metal? Because now we and you are the same age. So, like me going to Lemore's, I was 14 with a fake ID,
Right.
and I was a Kiss guy into Led Zeppelin, and then a guy moved into my neighborhood and introduced me to Rainbow on Stage, UFO, Strangers in the Night, and Deep Purple, Made in Japan, and then I was it. Then I went off. I went off in that venture of loving that type of music.
Yeah, actually, my cousin John was the founding member of the Capris, the 60s doo-wop band.
Oh wow,
So
yeah,
when
I
I was
know.
a baby growing up, it's like doo-wop was pretty common in my house. And my grandmother was a classical concert pianist when she came here from Italy. And she used to perform at the Italian Center for the Cultural Arts in Newark, New Jersey. Well, actually, South Orange, New Jersey. And, as time went on, obviously I started getting into metal. I was young, dude, and I saw a copy of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath. And I saw three chicks standing over a guy on a bed with devil horns and three sixes. I'm like, oh, what is this? I got to listen to this.
Did you see that
And
in
I
a
heard that,
record
oh,
store?
actually, my sister had it.
No
My
kidding.
sister had a
Wow.
copy of it, and I grabbed it, and I was just listening to it. And I heard the opening riff of Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, and I was just mesmerized by the entire record. I went through the whole album, and I was blown away. And from that point, it was pretty much I was like, all right, this is what I want to be, this is what I want to do, you know. And then I started discovering other bands. We discovered Judas Priest. Then as like time went on, Motorhead came along, and Diamond Head, and Iron Maiden, and Saxon, and UFO, and all those bands came along. I was like, wow, this is freaking amazing, dude. So I got turned on at a young age to it. And I bought a guitar and started playing guitar.
Okay.
And I was in a thrash band through
There
the
you go.
early 80s, and I mean that's where does everybody go? You go to work in a recording studio and you start a band. I was in a thrash band because I love thrash. I mean, that's just like what really hit my heart.
Right.
And I mean, dude, as time went on, it's like, you kind of get tired of making no money. So, I went to work for a magazine, and I went back to school. I worked as an engineer, so I was a recording engineer at a jingle house in the city. And I went back to college and started doing college radio and got a job working for CMJ. And that's where my whole career kind of launched. It landed me a job at Combat Records, landed me as a writer for the Queen's Angle, the local newspaper, which they're not around anymore, but
Mhm.
back then they were. And then director national metal promotion for Polygram Records.
Wow.
Late
So
'80s, early '90s.
you were
That's
you
where
were
that
let's I want to backtrack. You were in the early stages of combat then, right?
Yeah,
Like
'87.
like the Bullets album, you were there for around that time.
Yep.
So all the introduction of all the bands, Megadeth and so forth, that was on the label at that time, the compilation that everybody got out to see what was on the label at the time, right?
That's right. And Pokey, the drummer from Leeway, was my supervisor.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just a little piece of metal trivia there. I show up at work every day, and there was Pokey wearing a beach hat, and we were based out of the old offices in Hollis, Queens.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So let me ask you, like at that time, like say we're the same age, you were going to the Palladium, right?
yeah. That was on 14th Street at the time.
Right. So you saw the Killers tour with Maiden
Yes, I did.
and Priest Point of Entry, and did you go and were you there for the Iron Fist tour?
I was there for pretty much every tour that came through. Like my main venues that I was at was L'Amour's.
Yes.
Then there was a place for about a minute, Detroit's, I think it was called. It was like up in like new up like way it was upstate, but I can't remember exactly where. There was streets up in New Rochelle. That
No,
was like
man.
a pretty yeah, that was a pretty big spot. And then there was the local clubs out here that everybody played at. You know, there was Industry, and before that it was called Speaks, early 80s. So, you know, I came up in that whole scene.
And you're going to the Cat Club and you're going to the
Oh yeah,
Ritz.
Cat Club came later on. There was
Yeah.
the Cat Club, Limelight, you know, Dance Interior, and there was like all the New York clubs that we started that we were at as well. So you know, I mean, we made the rounds through like every show, and the beauty of it was drinking age was 18, and you could be 14, 15 with fake ID. The doorman never cared.
Right.
You know, you could look like you were 12 as long as you had ID that said you were 18, they let you in. They didn't care.
And as long as you weren't a dick and you didn't get into a fight, I didn't get through. Like I said, me too. When I was like 6 feet at 14, 15 years old, and me and my friends all had the same birth certificate that we used. It was like Julio Sandoval, when he was 25, and the fucking guy would look at you like, yeah, are you? But every time we went, like I said, we never got thrown out. We never made a hassle. By like the fifth time we would go, he wouldn't even call us anymore because he knew we were good kids that way.
Yeah, we never had a problem. I mean, that's the funny thing I gotta say. In like the last 35, almost 40 years of going to shows, you know, like actually longer than 40 years of going to shows, if I've had a problem like 4 or 5 times, it was a lot. And it was always the same thing. It was some drunk idiot trying to
Right.
hit on your girlfriend, you know? And it's like, dude, I just learned after the first time, it's like, all right, fine. I just went over and grabbed security. I was like, hey, dude, that dude just went over and grabbed my girlfriend's butt, and within 3 seconds he was getting swarmed and thrown out and thrown
Right.
out.
Right. Let them
And
deal
the
with
next
that
thing,
shit.
yeah, dude, I didn't want to deal with it, and it was like everything was very, very cool. And I mean, it was even like the famed Metallica, Rods and Vandenberg show at
At
the
the Paramount.
Paramount in Staten
Yep.
Island in 1983. I mean, I was at the show. Steve Harris was in the room. And years later, Frank White, the photographer, calls me and says, hey, dude, I found this picture of this guy looks like you, but I don't know if it's you or not, but something's telling me it's you. And there I was, 18, 19-year-old me at like the Metallica show hanging out.
Wow. Were you at the Venom show when they blew the stage up?
Yes, I was.
Those are great times. So how did you get around? So being your age, did you have someone had a car and you were able to
Yeah.
get, yeah,
A lot of the Yeah, a lot of the guys I hung out with were like a few years older than me and could drive and had licenses. I got my license, I was like 17 or 18, but I didn't have a car.
yeah,
So, it's like we go to shows and whoever drank the least amount was the one who was driving home,
right.
you know? So that was never me. I was usually sitting in the back seat, passed out on our way to the diner to eat. No, dude, it was a good time. But yeah, until I got my first car, I was about 18, and then after that I drove myself to every show.
Were you did you see the Blizzard of Oz with Motorhead at the Palladium? Were you at the Randy
Yes, I
show?
did.
Were you at the first show or second show?
I don't remember. I was at
Okay.
the show, but I don't remember which show I was at.
That was the same night Rainbow was playing Nassau Coliseum Difficult to Cure tour.
Wow.
So a buddy of mine that got me into all this music went to Nassau Coliseum, saw that show, and headed into the city to catch the Blizzard of Oz at the midnight show.
Ah, very cool.
Imagine two shows, Ozzy doing two shows in New York City in the same night. It was
Yeah,
unbelievable.
dude, I haven't missed Judas Priest since like 1980, I think. And that was what, the Screaming for Vengeance tour, I think it was.
Well, if you saw them at the Palladium, you saw Point of Entry.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Because
it was
I was 79 was British Steel, and that's the if you I don't know if you have a copy of the WNEW broadcasted it live.
wow.
Yeah, so I still have a copy of that. That's amazing. That's still amazing. You know.
Yeah, though they're I mean, I do so many shows, I can't even
Yeah,
remember anymore.
yeah,
I mean, I really should keep record of it, but I mean, I do about 100 shows a year,
easily. I
close or
know.
not that much close to it. But I mean, and that's been consistent for like years because, dude, one of the bands we represent is in town. The first thing I want to do is I want to go have drinks with them, go over how we did with radio promo, and see the show.
And how is the radio business out right now trying to get bands? Like, who are you representing at the moment?
Dude, like right now, the whole radio thing hasn't changed. So to anybody who's familiar, back starting in the 80s, every record company had a metal department. So they had a metal retail guy, they had a metal radio guy, and a metal publicist. Okay. And like one or two interns that did like all the bulwark. So, at that point, everything was pretty consistent. Like nowadays, most labels don't have an in-house radio person. Publicity will cover it for them if they have an in-house publicist, or they'll just hire us for radio promos. So now, I mean, we have about 400 stations nationally we deal with between all the syndicated radio outlets, commercial stations with metal shows, as well as college, public, and NPR, and some of the streaming digital platforms we have also that we deal with that are reporters. So, at least to us, artist development always starts at the ground level. And even if you're a new band like Black Sabbath, I mean, dude, legendary band. But when you have to realize when if you call a college station and somebody's 19 years old, ironically, some of them are like, oh, I heard of Black Sabbath. And if you can imagine, they've heard of the band but don't know, like, never listened to their stuff.
Yeah,
So you always have like rebranding you have to do with the big legacy acts, and then you get your smaller, your newer acts and your smaller acts. So like your newer acts like Lorna Shore, they've been around a while. And here they are, they're selling out the theater at Madison Square Garden, you
right.
know, and then you're seeing bands like Signs of the Swarm, they're coming in and they're just selling out wherever it is they go. But I mean, like our current roster now, we have the Heaven and Hell box set, which is out on Rhino. And so that's got Live at Vakken. And it also has The Devil You Know on it, the studio version. And it also has Live at Radio City. So it's like a really big, nice box set, which, by the way, I just got them. And I can come over here and I can bring it up and I can show you the mad
Oh,
cool
very
box set.
nice.
Yeah.
Did you
This
work?
one's mine, by the way. You can't have it.
Did you
Um,
work? Did you work the other Sabbath ones, Technical or Mob Rules or anything of that?
no, we started with Black Sabbath back around '93 with like the Forbidden record,
Oh, okay.
the whole Tony Martin era. That's
Yes.
when we started because skateboard marketing didn't wasn't formed until 1991, August 12th, actually. So we started, that's when I started the company. And over like the next 3, 4, 5 years, that's when we picked up like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and Overkill and Testament, and a lot of those bands. Plus, there was a lot of new developing bands that were around that day, like Dead Sea and other bands that we picked up. And then there was some bands that would just hire us and then we'd never hear from them again.
Yeah. That's why. So now, getting back in the day, did you ever go overseas to any festivals?
Yeah, I've done Inferno in Norway. I did Vakken, and I was at Beyond the Gates. And Beyond the Gates is great. Like Germany was my favorite country in Europe until I went to Norway. And then I kind of fell in love with Norway. I thought it was a little bit better than Germany, but
Yeah.
Germany is definitely more modern. And Norway is like very like tranquil and laid back. But I just thought it was like a beautiful country and it was chill. And
What about
and I got to tell you, I loved Oslo. Oslo was amazing.
what about Hellfest? Did you ever get to
No,
Hellfest?
I haven't been to Hellfest yet. And I think this year I'll probably be at Summer Breeze in Germany this year. So I'm pretty excited about that. If I can find a flight where it's not going to cost me $2,000.
Mm-hmm. You can't write that off?
Yeah, but still, you have to pay it,
All
you
right.
know?
I really wish back in the day, if, like I said, if I had the money to be at Donington or Reading Festival, and all those. I mean, I got a shirt on now. It's my back is Dio, AC/DC, except Gary Moore, Y&T. I mean, the lineup was beyond ridiculous back in the day. It's
Mm. Yeah, dude, it's brilliant, you know? So, I mean, this company, I mean, that's more or less what we do. We'll just like if it's a baby band and a new signing, we work hand in hand with the label's product manager and their publicists and their in-house promotion people. We put together a marketing campaign and a radio campaign and a setup. Publicity does the whole PR campaign and their setup on it. And usually we follow suit. Publicity usually leads the charge and we follow suit. Or unless we're going to have a premiere in place, like let's say publicity has a radio premiere, a press premiere where somebody's like a media outlet is going to premiere the video, then I could always go to like one of the syndicated radio outlets to see if we can get a radio premiere. Sometimes we only want to have a they only want to have a press premiere. Other times we'll just have a radio premiere. I
yeah.
mean, it really all depends on the setup and what we're going to do. But I mean, this year we celebrate 35 years. I can't believe it. I'm trying
Congratulations.
to think where 35 years went.
Yeah, it's crazy. And do you do listening parties and stuff like that? Do you do
Yes,
promotions
we
like
do.
that?
Yes, we do. We have a couple that are coming up, but they're not announced, but I can tell you after the call when they are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if anybody wants to know, like usually if we're going to have a listening party somewhere, whether it's going to be at Duff's in Brooklyn or somewhere else in Los Angeles, like obviously the Jeff Tate listening party is happening in Los Angeles. It was an invite only thing, and that's coming up.
That's for Mind Crime 3.
Yep, that's for Mind Crime 3, which we're actually doing the Mind Crime 3 record. Susan called us on that. And we also got, the Lamb of God. We have the Exodus. We have this new thing, Showing Teeth, which is pretty cool. And Quarantine, which, is Chris Jericho, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is he coming out with a recording? They have stuff in the
Well,
can?
he already put out Unholy. So that's
Yeah.
already out. And that's like actually top 10 on the radio charts right now. It's doing really, really well. So, we're getting big reaction on that. And we have the Garia and the Hell Ripper and the Myrith and a couple of other things. So I mean, we've been pretty busy, dude.
And you still involved with Avenged Sevenfold? Oh, no, I'm
No, we
sorry.
haven't worked.
Seven Dust.
Oh, Seven Dust. No. I mean, listen, I love the guys to death and they're a great band, but they're an active rock band. They're a hard rock band at this point. We worked the first record at Metal and we did super well with it. And then everything after that, instead of spending like the big budget at Metal Radio, Alternative, and everywhere else, they just focused at active rock. Band got on the road and they toured nonstop and they broke.
Mm,
And I'm very happy. I have a gold plaque on my wall for that first record. It's a very proud achievement.
absolutely. And what other cool stuff have you gotten throughout the years? Other than the RIA awards, any guitars or were you a collective set list or anything? Are you a memorabilia guy in that sense?
I mean, yeah, I'm kind of a memorabilia guy. I get like posters and other stuff, and I got hundreds of them wrapped up in my attic. I have
Yeah,
nowhere to put them.
yeah.
You know, I do have a couple of set lists. I do have the Iron Maiden set list hanging up on the corkboard in the office. That's actually very cool. When they played last time they came through and they played, uh, I forgot who it was. I think it was management came over and handed me the set list. I was like, oh, right on. And I hung it up in the office.
Oh, the last tour.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's Smallwood's management, Rod Smallwood.
yeah.
Oh, very cool. And I always ask, do you have any interaction with Lemmy as you were as you were going on?
Yeah, well, we handled Motorhead from 90 after 93 to present.
93. So what
So
album
I
would
knew
that be?
Lemmy very, very well, and I was pretty close with Lemmy and all the guys, by the way. And the same thing with Phil. I was pretty close with Phil. And I heard they canceled the tour because Phil had surgery. So I called him to check in, and he said, "Yeah, I'm all right. I'm doing okay. I just I have to recover from my surgery. I'll be okay." And a couple of weeks later, I wake up in the morning and I'm looking at my news feed and I see he passed away.
Yeah, that was a
So
shock.
I'm like, Christ, what happened?
I know. And we just spoke over the weekend about us. We lost Ross the Boss too,
Yeah.
which is I said all. That's why I tell my wife. I said, listen, the people I love and are into, they're all in their 70s. I said, and if they're around, I want to see them because I'm not guaranteed next year. I'm not guaranteed another tour. And so you got to enjoy them when they're here.
Yeah. I mean, with Ross, I talk to Ross pretty frequent. And I used to go to the cage, the batting cage in Queens, and we'd order food from the pizzeria and listen to old school Slayer and Black Sabbath and like Judas Priest, like old school stuff. And I heard the announcement came, and then I didn't hear back from him. And I ran into somebody, and they said, "Yeah, he's in the hospital." So last Wednesday, I went into the city to see him at the hospital, and he was in good spirits. I stayed for about an hour and a half. We hung out, we laughed, we told some good old war stories, and everything was great. And the following day, Thursday, that night, he passed away.
At
So
least you
you
got to
never,
say
you
goodbye.
don't know when you don't know when it's going to happen,
No,
but at least I got to see him beforehand because he was a class act. He was a really good guy, and he was such a class act, and he treated everybody like family. So I mean, if there's a guy you're going to miss, it's going to be Ross.
yeah, yeah. I mean, those days, seeing them at Lemoore, signing the Hammer tour, and it, they blew the doors off those places back in the day.
Yeah.
Did you go to the Testament show that was over the weekend?
Yes, I was Overkill, Testament, and Destruction. Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't do Jersey that much because it's like Starland takes me 2.5 hours to get to. It's in the middle of nowhere, dude.
yeah. I know.
But we made good time. It took us a little less than 2 hours because we didn't hit a lot of traffic. And dude, you couldn't move in the place.
Well, it was the
So
only there was the only area gig, no New York City gig.
yeah. So we stood side stage, in the back because that was the only place we had real estate by the bar where we could get a drink and not get like sweated on. So we hung out there, and then I went to see the guys after the show and say hello, and we hung out for Testament, and I saw the Testament guys before the show. So we stayed for Testament, and just like right before Testament was ending, I walked out the side stage door just to get out of there because it would have took me a half hour to walk through the crowd to get to the front
Yeah,
door.
I know. It's crazy towards the end over there, and there's only one way out
Yeah.
too. It's like a cattle
Well, they
call.
have two emergency exits at the other end of the room, and then there's the emergency exit by the bathroom at stage right, and then there's the other exit in the back where it goes through the kitchen. So but they don't really use the kitchen. The kitchen is more or less like a dressing room area. They just drop their cases and their wardrobe.
Right.
Yeah.
And did you ever represent them? Your
Yeah.
marketing? Okay.
Yeah, we handled Testament since the early days, early 90s, Death Angel too, and Exodus as well.
Are you working with Exodus now?
Yes, we are. We're doing the new album, Goliath.
Yeah. And that sounds Rob Duke sounds really good again. I'm glad he's back.
Dude, Rob's great. We handled Shovelhead and we've done a lot of their stuff with Rob. And I worked with, Generation as well too. So Rob is a great singer, and like I guess next time you see him, you can ask him the story about when I saw them in Rome. I was in Italy, the trains were on strike. I couldn't get to see my family. I couldn't get out to see my family anyway. And my friend Lorenzo calls me and says, "Hey, Exodus is playing tonight, but the show's sold out. I don't know. Do you have a hook? You want to get in?" I said, "Pick me up at the hotel. Let's go." He got me at the hotel, and I gave their tour manager my card. And, Gary came out and handed me a couple of passes. I walked in the dressing room, and the guys were like shocked. "What are you doing in Italy?"
Right.
And I wound up seeing the show in Rome, and that was 2006, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. So that was that was a real treat. And I mean, dude, it was a small venue. The show was sold out. And I wasn't worried about the building collapsing. It's been there for 2,000 years. It's made out of all concrete and stone.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like nothing's gonna they can get a circle pit going as hard as they want. The floor is not gonna collapse.
Right, 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 right. Crazy. So I want to ask you, what's your weekly routine now, Muncie? Like you say, I know you say you make a lot of phone calls, and so is it every day just on the ball trying to get push the bands?
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is, you want airplay. And you get airplay, and the way you gauge your results is you look at the radio charts. Now, there's two radio charts that we look, well, actually three that we look at. Metal Contraband is one of them, which is a spins-based chart. And then there's the North American College chart, the NACC, and that's pretty much set up the same way CMJ was back in the day. And then you have Media Base, which is monitored airplay from all commercial stations. So, every commercial station, they stop and they look at whatever software they use, whether it's Selector or Next Gen or whatever they use. Their stats are uploaded into the Media Base system, and they put together a spins based chart. So the airplay is pretty accurate from the commercial side. And that's really what we look at. I mean, it's really artist branding, airplay, trying to build streaming numbers, and obviously trying to drive social media hits, as well as ticket sales and merch sales, because physical sales aren't what they used to be anymore.
Right.
You know,
And you know
so I mean,
you know what the real
this.
problem is too is that a lot of bands that put out a single 3 months, 4 months before the album comes out, and they really push it in the beginning, and then when the album comes out, it really I feel that a lot of things fall off the vine because it doesn't seem to be the push then for anything. Like I was saying, so a lot of times bands will come out with a single 4 to 5 months in advance before the full album comes out, and they'll front load the promotions and everything, and when the album comes out, then it kind of falls dead off the vine. So do you try to help that in a sense to keep maintaining it, especially the full album is out?
Yeah, you have to remember, publicity works everything to lead up to street date. The single, as part of the rollout, is all set up for the full length album because we focus on the full length album. And if you look at the radio charts, the NACC chart is an album chart, it's not a singles chart. Metal Contraband is a spins based chart, okay? And Media Base is a singles based chart, okay? It's not an album chart. So obviously, what we want to do is build streaming numbers. We want to build like when pre-orders start, we want to build pre-orders so fans keep hearing a record. And how do we do that? We drop a single, we let it resonate at radio, we let it build. Publicity tries to get as much ink as possible and as many interviews as possible to run before street date. Then week of street, we impact and we go for ads on the album, and then we work it up the charts for 8 weeks. And all of that is all, in essence, to build first week sales for SoundScan, build streaming numbers, build social media hits, and obviously help the band sell tickets and merch. Because
Yeah.
that's the key thing with a band making most of their revenue now on touring. We have to have at least like some kind of system in place. Whereas like way back in the day, I mean, if I got the ad at a station in Philly, like if I got the ad at MMR and they started spinning my record like 14 times a week, we'd look at SoundScan a couple of weeks later and we would see like stop and look and see like 5,000 units sold. Then the band would come through town, and that's usually the trend. After a band comes through town, they always move more units at retail plus merch. Now, after a band comes through town, it's merch sales and streaming numbers, because they make less, like less physical product.
Right.
So, I mean, my suggestion to fans, if you really, really dig the band and you dig the music and you go to the show, buy a copy of the disc or the vinyl at the show and buy merch because that's what's going to help the band and that's going to enable them to keep touring and help them to keep making more records.
Right. So now, when you say about radio, does that include streaming, like Liquid Metal? Would you go to
Yes,
Sirius and so
absolutely.
forth, and push it
Absolutely.
and push it through them, right?
Yeah, I hit up everybody, and I go after everybody. I mean, but the one thing you learn, you first learn as a publicist and as a radio promo guy. If you're going to stop and look at a station like, let's take a station, for example, like WESU in Connecticut.
Go ahead.
So let's take, for example, a station in Connecticut, WESU. I mean, it's more an 80s hard rock and hair band show. So, you're not going to work him on a Mayhem record or a Behemoth or a Devil Driver because it's just not what they do.
Right.
Okay. And you kind of have to understand when you approach a station, you have to approach them from the standpoint is you have to know what they do, you have to know what they like, you have to know what they play. It's very relationship driven. And there's no school to teach you this gig. There's no school to teach you relationships. You have to go out and dive in, and it's trial by fire. Either you have it or you don't. It's like playing guitar. You can pick, anybody can play guitar, but either you have it or you don't. You know,
Yeah.
Same thing with a publicist. Either you have it or you don't. In marketing, you have it or you don't. It's like there's a little bit of, you know, savviness and talent that comes through with it. So that's kind of how you have to approach stations. So you remember there's going to be a lot of holes out there. You may not have a station for another 70 miles, and that station isn't playing your record, and you have a show there, okay? And at that point, you have to stop and look at other angles, like maybe ticket giveaways on a station that's not playing your record,
Right.
but you gave away tickets to try to put bodies in the room. Sometimes you have a show where you know, they sold 300 tickets and pre-sale has been up for like 4 months. And then you can count a little bit on walk-up. But then again, too, walk-up isn't going to help. So we have to go back to radio to see if we can, do some ticket gives or do some special promo around that, with radio to try to put people in the room.
Yeah. Do you work with SOU at all?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, because that, if anything, that's the most heaviest of the New York City area, on
Oh, yeah.
air. Do on the wavelengths of radio. That's our New York City area, New Jersey area radio station. This band Lex Legion, are you guys working with them?
Yes, we are. We literally were just put on the Lex Legion the end of last week.
Oh,
We serviced the track yesterday.
great song, great single.
And you got to remember too, look at who's in the band.
Oh yeah,
It's Mickey D and
Andy.
LaRue and Hal Patino, and it's like all the cats from King Diamond's band. And I got to tell you, them is my favorite King Diamond record, and that's the first time I saw Mickey D play drums.
Okay.
The Lamores on when they were out for the them tour.
Was Timmy Hansen still in the band then?
You know what?
He
I
had
don't
back then
remember.
he had the he lost his eye or something like that. It was, so he had an eye, so he had an eye patch.
I don't remember.
Okay. So we're getting back to Lex Legion. So are they anything with touring wise, or are they going to come to the States? Anything with the future for with them?
Well, nothing's announced yet, so I can't really talk about it
Okay.
because nothing's announced. But I'm sure there's going to be plenty of plans for this band because it's a serious band.
And
And
King's not
Monarch,
doing nothing at the moment either.
yeah, Monarch Entertainment is 110% behind them, and so I'm pretty excited to see it because it's gonna be a treat.
Yeah. I can't wait for to listen to the whole album.
Oh, wait till you hear it, Paul. It's an amazing record,
Oh,
classic,
I can't wait.
classic.
I can't wait. All right, Munch, you know what? We dealt with the freezing. And you answered every question I have. Anything you want to promote coming up?
Nah, I mean, if fans really want to follow a good news feed and just find out about a lot of the newer cool bands, I know everyone goes to Loudwire and Metal Injection and Blabbermouth and Metal Sucks and Revolver and Decibel. It's cool. But if they go, they can wish Skateboard Marketing on all our socials, with the exception of Twitter. Well, X now was Skateboard MKT. And Metal Contraband is there as well too, and that's under Metal Contraband for all the socials. So, usually every day I'm posting press releases for upcoming tours and stuff that we have that's working. And I mean, if fans want to go there and follow, I mean, they can go follow and like.
Absolutely. All right, so everybody, you do that. Muntz, I want to thank you so much for being on, my brother, and I definitely will be seeing you at a show upcoming.
You got it, Paul. Thanks for having me, dude.
Thank you. Thanks everybody listening in. We'll take care and we'll catch you on another episode. Take care. Bye bye.